sometimes.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's meeting of the Norton Board of Selectmen. Today is Thursday, May 16th. Let the record show that all members of the board are present, and also Town Manager Michael Units. Tonight we have a group of scouts with us, and I'm going to impose on them to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay. Our first order of business is licenses and permits. In your packet, we have a license request from Cynthia Carroll for a one-day beer and wine license to be utilized at the Everett Leonard Park on May 19th this year. It'll be from 3 to 7 for a private party. It's been signed off by both the police and fire department. And if anyone has any questions, if not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the one-day beer and wine license for Cynthia Carroll at the Everett Leonard Park, May 19th, 2019, from 3 to 7.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Deli?
Aye.
Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. I also vote yes. That's unanimous. We also have a second application for a one-day all-alcohol license from Lisa Burns Lasser to be used at the Everett Leonard Park on June 15th, 2019, from 12 to 5 for a private party. This also has been signed off by both the police and fire chiefs. If there are any questions, if not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the one-day all-alcohol license for Lisa Burns Lasser for use at the Everett Leonard Park, June 15th, 2019, from 12 noon to 5.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Deli? Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Yes.
I also vote yes. That's also unanimous. Also in our packets, we have a application for a special events parking permit. It's for use at 242 Mansfield Avenue by, and I'm going to butcher this name, Basilio Nicholas, to be utilized at 242 Mansfield Avenue, Norton, Mass, from May 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. In our packet, there is a site plan. It's located next to the Cumberland Farms on Mansfield Avenue. It's at the site of the miniature golf, and it looks to me like they're going to remove the miniature golf to make parking there and also in the rear. It's been inspected, and it's for 117 parking spaces. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This is going to be a permanent parking lot?
Just from till December, the license will be good for. It's for event parking for
Comcast?
Comcast.
Any plans thereafter, do you know, or?
Not right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Yes.
Mike, is this a new owner?
Yes.
Okay.
And from the plans provided, it looks like the only thing that's going to remain is the building that is associated with the miniature golf.
Yeah, the bathroom facilities are in there.
Any other questions?
Just,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Good. I just wanted to say, and the police and fire department did put their conditions on that they'll be enforcing and also the building inspector.
So I know it says special events here, and we referenced the Xfinity Center, but this really could be any event,
Could be.
right? Like if
Yeah.
Alberto's was having something and people need extra parking, they could open this up.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Are they providing trash receptacles there? Do we need to worry about trash being dumped on the
Yes.
ground? Yeah.
Any other questions? Any concerns? Does the board feel comfortable voting on this tonight, or do they want to take it under advisement?
I'm good.
Everyone's all right? In that case, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the special events parking permit for 242 Mansfield Avenue, Vasilius Nicholas. The attendant in charge, I assume, is Matt Anthony, and that's from May 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
And I don't believe we need a roll call, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Okay, on to announcements. The first announcement is recognition of EMS Week, and I believe Mr. Fire, EMS, or paramedic, I'm not sure your rank. Wilson is here.
I'm not either.
You're just in charge, that's all I know.
All right, so yeah, I'm the EMS director for the Norton Fire Department, and I'm here again this year to have you guys sign the proclamation for EMS Week, which is the week of May 19th through the 25th. And we do this every year and try to recognize some of the, paramedics on a department. And originally, we were going to have a couple of them come in with a recent save that we had, but unfortunately, the gentleman is back in the hospital, so, we wish him well with that. But I just want to go over a few things just people may not realize as far as the fire department is concerned. We have 2 rescues in service. We actually have 3 rescues. We have 2 in service. One is a mechanical backup. Each of them is about anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000. Excuse me. They have about $75,000 worth of equipment in them. And believe it or not, Norton was one of the first ALS licenses around 1981, which is, there's some departments that are just getting the licenses now. And we actually had our first paramedics in 1984. We do about 1,900 runs yearly. That equals up roughly about 5 or 6 calls per shift. That's the EMS side. There's still fire on top of that we go, because everybody is dual trained. They're firefighters and paramedics, or firefighters and EMTs. Currently, we have 7 EMTs and 31 paramedics, which is good. That's bumped up in the last 10 or 15 years. Our medical director is out of Sturdy Hospital. It's Brian Patel, Dr. Patel, and also Dr. Thornton. Each of the paramedics does about 80 hours of training each year, and it seems like every year there's more and more training that they have to do. The medical director requires us to do medical rounds, going to Sturdy Hospital and going over the runs. Each of them have to do a 12-lead competency exam every year and pass that to make sure that they're competent in recognizing heart attacks in the field. There's protocol updates, there's skill workshops. If we don't get enough skills each year, we actually have to do the skills in front of the medical director to make sure that we're competent with that. And I know we talk a lot about mandates, but just everything probably in the EMS part of it is mandated. We're under the Department of Public Health. We're regulated through the Office of Emergency Medical Services. We have to fall under HIPAA, under OSHA, under the DEA, regional EMS, and the Mass Drug Control. That's just a few of them. The ambulances are under federal guidelines as far as how they're made, and it seems every year that changes. And then, of course, equipment on top of that. Right now, I believe we're about $25,000 per year just in PM for equipment on the ambulances, which seems to be going up every year. We also have to do quality assurance. One of the things I did this week is met with the members of the REC, the new dispatch center, and one of the things that the new software is going to do is do QA for us on the dispatcher side, which is really good, because that's something that we're kind of lacking right now, that they always want to have stats and things like that. And then some of the future things, they're talking about ultrasounds in the ambulance. We'll see where that goes. Point of care testing, where they take a drop of blood and they actually will get all kinds of labs that'll allow us to treat a patient. And something you may have heard of is mobile integrated healthcare, which is the community paramedics. And that's basically the paramedics going to people's houses and treating them and not actually transporting them to the hospital under certain conditions. Right now, they're in the process of changing the insurance regulations. We basically only get paid if we transport somebody, but they're trying to change it so it's basically a pay for service rather than just pay for transport. It's going to help the hospitals out a little bit because it's going to alleviate the people coming back, the people that are coming back multiple times. And that's really about it where we are. We have a joke when we meet with all the EMS directors. North Attleboro has a saying that they're second to none. And we always say, well, we're the town of none, because we think we're the best in the area, or I know we're the best in the area as far as that goes. I think we have some of the most dedicated paramedics around. We've been doing it for a long time, and I want to thank everybody on the board for, you know, it starts really at the top and the money coming in. Obviously, we get the money from the ambulance receipts, but obviously the money gets approved for us to do the job, and we couldn't do it without the support from the Board of Selectmen, the town manager, the chief, and then past chiefs, so.
Anyone have anything to say?
You guys do a terrific job. We're very fortunate in this town for both of our safety organizations, and so commend you. Keep it up. Good work.
Thank you.
I would be remiss if I didn't make a comment about Mr. Wilson. So, we always have this running thing, whether or not he made me or I made him, right? He always throws that at me. Mike was actually my senior firefighter for years when I was a shift commander and stuff, and you couldn't ask for a better person to go to for stuff and everything. But regarding the EMS side of things, literally every day I'm getting emails with changes. And it really is frustrating how much is being thrown at us. And Mike really does a good job of disseminating all that, making sure that he only passes along what really applies to us versus, you know, possibly private animals or something like that. So I can't say enough that he's doing a great job as my EMS director, and I just wanted to publicly state that, Mike, as well. So
Thank you.
and I did make you.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the many times you came to my rescue.
Yep.
I always get choked up talking about my wife.
Yep.
But not only do they know what they're doing, but they know how to take care of the spouse. It's amazing.
Yeah.
When you guys walk in the door, how my blood pressure came down. I had complete trust and faith that she was with the best people. And I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. I'm happy we could do it.
So, you would think after a year and a half I'd getting over this, huh?
It's okay.
It's part of the process, Brad.
But, no, everybody that works on that ambulance, they're wonderful people.
Mr. Chairman, I read the proclamation.
Yes, please.
EMS Week proclamation to designate the week of May 19th to the 25th, 2019 as Emergency Medical Services Week, whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Service Week now. Therefore, I, the Board of Selectmen, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th to 25th, 2019 as Emergency Medical Service Week. We encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, you've heard me say it previously, Mike said it tonight, but to a person, man or female, I would put them up against any department of service in the Commonwealth, and we'd beat them hands down. They really are that good next door, and it really is good to know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chief gave me this today, and, you know, you just, in this world, some firefighter going to a call, yesterday, was it? Was ambushed and shot out in Wisconsin. Like, you just wouldn't think someone, a firefighter going to a call would have to deal with that. But between that and the drugs that they have to be concerned about, it's,
I would never have thought that we have to have in the chief's car, deputy's car, ambulances, engines, bulletproof vests and helmets. And again, we do for the swatting calls, the boarded up calls. But again, I don't know what to do about the fact that you show up randomly at a medical call where you think someone's having a medical emergency. We're not going to be geared up for something like that. It's possible. So it's a scary world. It's changes.
As long as we're talking with the chief, he is here for another item on the agenda, so I'd like to jump to the first item of the new business, and the chief would like to recognize a young man who he can explain the project.
So again, you see all the Boy Scouts here this evening, and they're here to pay tribute to one of theirs that's on the final leg of getting his Eagle Scout. And Mr. Eden Morris, if you want to come up and join me. I'm going to let him describe the amount of work that he did for the town as part of his project, but it was no easy task. He took the Station 5, which is our Barrowsville station, the Charles F. Tomei station, and it was in dire need of some repair and upkeep, and he put that down as a project, and also did a major deal with the fact that it had a rotted bulkhead to get down to the basement where we had a lot of our emergency management supplies, and made that into a doghouse, walk-in and everything. So there are pictures there that I did take for you as well, but I'll let him go into the details of it, but he did a really yeoman's job, so. Hayden?
Thank you. I just want to start off by saying thank you for having us tonight. For those of you who don't know, I'm Aiden Morris, and I'm a junior going for Eagle Scout. And while searching for my Eagle project, I learned through my grandfather that the fire station was in need of a new cellar door because the old cellar door was causing issues with entrance to emergency equipment at Barrowsville Station. And I decided I want to change it and make that my project. And the fire department graciously funded the project also. So we cleaned the gutters, power washed the sides of the building, painted over old chipped wood painting, and placed down new mulch and new plants. And I learned a lot about leadership and the difficulties that come with it. And I would like to thank everyone who helped me and is helping me progress through my Eagle. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
It's not until you really go out and look at it that you realize how bad it was previously, as far as just little things like the posts for the front porch. The bottoms were rotted, so those all got replaced by him. Again, his dad's a contractor, I believe, so that helped him as far as planning and doing the doghouse for us. But it was back in the bad winter of 2015, where we had the endless snows through March, that Easton opened up one of their warming shelters and then couldn't get anybody to leave, so they called us looking for cots. And all of our cots were staged over in North Attleboro that we keep on a trail in Attleboro at the La Salette in case we needed to go there for shelter. But I had a bunch down in the basement at Station 5. And we got there in the amount of snow that we had to shovel through to get from the driveway to the bulkhead, but then the whole bulkhead as well and stuff. It was a major project just for us to do that. So this is where the thought process was, let's get rid of the fact that it's an old-fashioned rotted bulkhead and put an actual door that we, at least that's half the battle for doing that, so we can snow blow right up to it and stuff and be done with it or plow up to it. So the other thing that one of the pictures showed, it wasn't the best picture, and I took it today, I don't know why it was so dark, but the top has these half-moon windows that weren't really windows, they were always just plywood, but again, the plywood was long since really rotted away and stuff, so he actually replaced that with the PVC sheets so they're maintenance-free forever and all that. So again, a real yeoman's job that he did. He did coordinate everything, and the one thing that I thought would be really adding too much because of the scope of the project was to have him do a fundraising side of it. And that was something that was offered, and I says, no, I appreciate the fact that he was willing to do the work. So I actually took the materials for him, but he actually went out and got them. We sent the captain in a pickup truck, and he had a shopping list and whatever and stuff, so, but he did a great job, and I appreciate you allowing us to show him off here tonight, because we're very proud of him. I don't know if one of the scout leaders, Rick Sitter, wants to come up with one of the facts or not, but I think Norton is one of the breeding grounds through their 2 troops for Eagle Scouts. They got a phenomenal number of scouts that come out of this town, and it just shows the dedication of the leaders to their Boy Scouts. And I polled them before the meeting, and every scout sitting here right now is ultimately thriving to do that. So that's actually a great thing, because it's not an easy thing if you figure how much work goes into each one of those merit badges. So again, Aiden, I appreciate you allowing us to be the final notch in your belt to get over the edge there, and we look forward to you getting your Eagle ceremony.
Thank you.
We'll show up at the...
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
12 has 93 Eagles since its inception in 1927.
And that's out of the Methodist Church, Charlie Methodist Church, yeah, and then 61,
The chief has a...
but I understand there's quite a few there as well, because I do certificates for him, and it seems like I'm doing a lot of them as well, so it really is something that you think about. It seems like it's commonplace, because we have it in Norton so much, but it is a very rare item, and there's not that many even nationwide in any given year, so.
4% of boys and now girls that enter the program will make it to Eagle.
Yeah.
And that's up from 2% the last few years.
So again, thank you very much, Mr. Units and Chair, for allowing us to be here for that.
Aiden, I want to thank you on behalf of the town for fixing up the Barrels Hill Station, and congratulations as you pursue your Eagle Scout. I'm sure that you probably have a few more items. I'm not sure where you signed it last, Chief. I'm not sure. We were talking amongst ourselves and couldn't figure out, that's it.
So, you can back up? How far do you need me to hold it in front of you?
I never played trombone. This is a certificate of appreciation awarded to Aiden Morris in recognition of your Eagle Scout project, which involved the repair and painting of the trim of the Charles F. Tomei Fire Station, Station 5, the replacement of the half-moon windows with PVC material to make them maintenance-free, the cleaning of the gutters, as well as the power washing of the exterior of the building, and finally the construction of a doghouse entrance to the basement, replacing the rotted bulkhead. Mr. Morris organized and planned for all the preceding work, including drawing up plans and securing the materials necessary for this project. This saved the town considerable money and greatly improved the building appearance and usability. And that's signed from the town of Norton, from both Chief Schleicher and myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Job, Aiden? Go, Bruce.
Now, second item on our recognitions is National Police Week, and I believe we have another proclamation. Ms. Steele.
Okay. 2019 Police Week, May 12th to the 18th, 2019. Whereas the Norton Board of Selectmen proclaimed the week of May 12th to the 18th, 2019 Police Week as established by President John F. Kennedy in 1962, and whereas the Board of Selectmen call on all citizens of the town of Norton to further observe Wednesday, May 15th, 2019 as Peace Officer Memorial Day, and whereas this day serves to pay tribute to the law enforcement officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice and to voice our appreciation for all those who currently serve. Now therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Selectmen, do hereby proclaim May 12th through May 18th, 2019 as 2019 Police Week in the town of Norton, and to further observe Wednesday, May 15th, 2019 as Peace Officers Memorial Day.
Does anyone have any comments? If not, I'll pick up the ball only because of my youngest brother being a police officer. He's also, at this time, president of the Massachusetts Fraternal Order of Police, and he has, on several occasions, gone to Washington for Police Officer Week. And with 5 brothers, I know why he needed thousands more, but but they are truly as much brothers, I think, as his biological brothers. And he takes great pride in all that they do. And all of his fraternal brothers are brothers to his biological brothers. So congratulations to all the police. And I believe there was well over 100 additional names added to the Police Officers Memorial in Washington this year for officers who lost their lives in the line of duty. And it's sad to think that people have to go to work and not know if they're going to be coming home or not. And I have a great deal of respect for both the police and fire for safeguarding our town.
And they, Mr. Chairman, we're very fortunate, the number one safest community in the Commonwealth, thanks to both
Yes.
of those departments, so.
Yes, they work very hard. So, if there's nothing else. Now we have spring cleanup and community service day.
Okay, so...
We're going to keep you busy, aren't we, Mrs.
Yes,
Steele?
me again. Okay, so Spring Cleanup and Community Service Day at the Edith Reed Conservation Land is going to take... Wait, Founder's Day. Oh. Founder's Day. I'm sorry, is this for a cleanup or for Founder's Day?
No, I think,
It's going to be on that day.
Oh, it's on Founder's Day?
Oh, it's on Founder's Day.
Oh, okay,
so
sorry.
in
Okay,
the
sorry
morning,
for
they're
the
going to
confusion.
clean up, and in the afternoon, they're going to
Okay.
celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start over. The Spring Cleanup and Community Service Day at the Edith Reed Conservation Land will take place on Founder's Day, which is Saturday, June 15th. The rain date will be Saturday, June 22nd. The cleanup will begin at 8 a.m. and end around noon. For those of you who aren't aware of it, Edith Reed Conservation Land is at 79 North Worcester Street. They want everybody to meet and park at the lodge. They'll be doing raking, landscaping, construction, repairs. If you want further information on this, I hate it when we give websites, because do you think anybody's writing it down? But I'll give it to you anyways. It's http tinyurl.com/2019 FNDRDAYCER, or you could just call our office and someone will point you in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Are there any other announcements?
No, I don't have any.
Ms. Flaherty?
All set, thank you.
Ms. Deli?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ms. Conway?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I think I'm all set also. So we'll move on to appointments and resignations. With the election results, Mr. Kimball was the Board of Selectmen's representative to the Capital Improvements Committee. So the Board of Selectmen will have to fill that vacant seat. So I'm not sure if anyone is interested in it. If not, I will gladly do it, but I don't want to take it away from someone else if they want to be involved.
Having done it before, I'm in the same boat. If we need someone to do it, I'm glad to, but if you're interested in doing it,
Yep. I'm in the same boat as you two. I'm certainly willing to do it.
I'm fine with somebody else doing it.
There we go.
I nominate Brad.
yeah, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that was easy. I hope the meetings go that easily. And, nominations of the Selectmen representative to the Southeastern Massachusetts Metropolitan Planning Organization.
So the last time we talked about this, you wanted some information on the SMMPO, and this committee is responsible for development and review of transportation policies, priorities, and projects for the Serpent region. And Paul Mission indicates that usually they meet, have 8 meetings a year. Sometimes there's more, so there could be 8 to 10 a year, but the meetings last about an hour. They're at 1 p.m. in the afternoon at the Serpent offices, and they typically meet on the 3rd Tuesday of each month. And it might be 3 to 4 hours per month worth of work. And this is a position that you'd run for if you want to put your name in. It's elected by the member communities.
Basically, it's not something that we have to say, Mary, run for this. It's up to the individual selectmen to make their own decision and fill the form out and send it in, and I wish them well.
Take good notes.
So I actually did put my nomination in last week for this. I felt that Norton could use an advocate on that board, so see how
Excellent.
it goes.
Super. I hope you get an appointment to it and keep us posted.
I hope so, too.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do we know anything about the nomination process? Like, is there a way that we can provide support?
It's a vote of the commission members.
Yeah, I mean, what I read, it didn't look like it looked for letters of recommendation or anything like that. It's,
My understanding is that you go in and you make a short case for yourself, along with all the other prospective nominees, and they vote. So it seems pretty straightforward.
well, if that meeting comes up and you want moral support, I'd be more than happy to go with you.
Great.
As would
So-
I.
Thanks, all.
Okay. And we have to vote to appoint Paul DiGiuseppe as the representative of the Joint Transportation Planning Group Municipal. That'd be, I'm sure he's going to have nothing else better to do. So, and he's not here tonight, so it's a perfect time to,
Get ready, Mr. Chairman.
so, if that's to everyone's approval, I'll accept a motion to appoint Paul DiGiuseppe as the Norton's representative to the Joint Transportation Planning Group.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I ask, there, on the last page, it has the 2018-19 officers. So is this a replacement of one of the officers?
I looked over this quickly.
Keith was?
Yeah,
the
Keith.
representative, and now Paul is gone.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And Keith will be the alternate. We'll get him to put his name in.
I'm sure Keith won't be too upset. Yeah, in the past, we've imposed on Keith to represent us, like he doesn't have anything else to do, but he's always been a good sport and gone along with it, but I'm sure he'll step aside for Paul. Okay, we're on to new business. And our second order of new business is Wreaths Across America presentation.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us speak with you tonight. We are a small group that are going to form, what? Oh, thank you. That's my pet peeve when I'm taking minutes. My name is Pat Tarantino. I do.
Estelle Flett, Veterans Officer.
Ron Orthine.
All right, and this is we have a 6-person group right now. And what we would like to do is start a program for Norton for Wreaths Across America. That is an organization, it's a nonprofit organization, and what they do is they sell wreaths, and they get laid down on a specific date that Congress sets every year for this program. And it runs at the same time across the country. So it's noon on the East Coast, and on the Pacific Coast, it's, 9 o'clock there. They run the same ceremony, the same script. It is to remember, honor, and teach is the program. And Estelle has some handouts to give you a little more of the background, so I don't have to sit here and bore you with it. But thank you. We would like to submit a form to this Wreaths Across America to put Norton as one of the group or the location IDs. We will also put our own little group and form an ID for them. We are going to go to Founder's Day and have a place for people to either go online and submit. By then, we'll have a Facebook page that Wreaths Across America will help us set up. They can either give us checks or cash, and for every 2 wreaths that we sell, we will get 3. And our goal is to put a wreath on.
Our total right now, as of today, veterans buried in our local cemeteries is 650.
Wow.
So our goal is 650. That would be the ultimate. We're going to hold the ceremonies at the Common Cemetery right next to St. Mary's. In that particular cemetery, there's 220 veterans buried as of yesterday's placing of flags for Memorial Day. So we're hoping that at the very least we will complete and cover all of the gravestones here.
The ceremony involves things like you usually get a Gold Star person to get up and speak, maybe a representative. The Knights of Columbus escort there are 7 main ceremonial wreaths, 1 for each branch of the service, plus the Merchant Marine, plus the POWs and MIAs. So they have a beautiful ceremony. They talk about it. We are hoping that all of you will endorse this and word of mouth tell people, and we're hoping to get some Boy Scouts there that day to help, especially in the day this year is December 14th. It's a Saturday. And then 3 weeks later, we go out and we remove all the wreaths. So there's still a lot of logistics that we need to go through, but we wanted to present it to you. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So did you say that for every 2 wreaths that you sell, you get 3 for free?
No.
1 for free?
One free.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha, okay. And
That
when?
would be great.
I was going to say, it sounded like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
When are the wreaths for sale? Is it ongoing now?
It will start immediately after we just wanted to have the blessing of the board, as we did the cemetery committee as well. But we, once we send in for our ID number, it will happen immediately. They'll help us with the Facebook page, and then we'll start putting it out through the media, Norton Media, Sun Chronicle.
Either channel.
We'll give it to Peter.
Peter will tell
Get the
them.
word out.
Right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I have some good friends out in Western Mass that run a chapter of this, and it's a fantastic organization. So however we can support, I'm definitely
I'm
interested.
excited to bring it to Norton. Last year, I participated down at Warren National Cemetery, as did Pat, and it's really something. It's moving, and to go and to honor. It's about remembering, and as you place the wreath, you state their name, and you have a moment. So it's pretty chilling. I know Bourne has over 77,000 graves. And I know last year they were only able to cover 11,000. So at this point, should Norton exceed 650, we'll be donating anything that exceeds that to Bourne.
Except for, I'm going to make sure my husband has one in Bourne. So he's getting one
He's
delivered
first.
one way or the other.
My dad's buried there as well, so.
How much do the wreaths?
They're $15 a piece.
15? Okay.
And you can go online, don't do it yet, because we want to get credit for it, but once we have our ID, you can go online and they'll have drop-down boxes, so you can look up Norton, and there'll be a button that you can push, and you can do it all online.
Uh-huh.
As well as with the Founder's Day, anybody that wants to write a check can do that. We'll collect cash, whatever.
We would like to also go out and speak with some of the, local businesses in town and see if they would have an interest in supporting this cause too.
Anyone else?
And how long will you accept donations? Up until what date?
Right up until, I personally know because I was late in putting in my own donation last year for Bourne, or right at the end, so it goes right through December.
Okay.
And then a big truck comes down from somewhere in Maine that they make they're beautiful wreaths, and then they come down and they'll deliver them. And then 3 weeks later, we go out with hockey sticks and pick them up.
Mr. Chairman, this is fantastic. Thank you guys very much for doing it. I hadn't heard of it before, so it's really touching. I think it's great. I was just wondering, would you guys mind coming back and let us know how you're doing along the way? Maybe, I don't want to impose on you too much, whatever you think the time frame is like. You sold 10, you sold, you're 400, whatever, and also
Right.
it would kind of get that date repeated over and over, that December 14th. December 14th?
December 14th,
Yeah,
Saturday.
is
Yep.
the day that it would actually be happening, so.
It would be great to get the children from, the scouts, both boys and girls, Wheaton College kids,
Yeah.
our own
Service
schools.
hours, if we have,
Right.
it could represent a service hours, especially to pick up, but one of the items, it's honor, remember, and it's to teach. Our freedom isn't free. So whoever we can get out and teach and impact, that's our goal.
Okay.
Anyone else? Not, Chair, I'll entertain a motion to heartily approve participation in this program.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is to review and/or vote to award the surge paper contracts.
The paper award contract through Sursage this year will again be WB Mason, and I presented you with a sheet that shows the prices. So the increases this year, you can see from FY19 on the right. I've written those down for you. So this year, $32.90 for the 20-pound, 8.5 by 11 paper, $33.80 for the same paper with 3-hole punch. The same as above in recycled paper, $33.80. 20-pound white, 8.5 by 14 legal paper, $34.30. Ledger paper, $33.80. The 20-pound white, 8.5 by 11, $34.90. And then the 25% cotton or similar, 8.5 by 11, $59.90. And
Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Yes.
Did we receive any other bids?
nope, WB Mason was the only one again.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Does the town do any sort of secure print where you print and then need to scan a badge to pull it off? It helps dissuade excess print jobs, so you only get it when you need it. We've adopted that at my company. It's a great success and drastically
No.
reduced the paper supply. I don't know if it's possible with the printers that we have here, but
It's called what again, Jack?
Secure Print.
Okay.
It is, Dell makes them, HP also has a device, so something to look at.
Yeah.
Anything else? Not the chair will entertain a motion to award the paper contract to WB Mason.
So moved.
And that's for July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
And do you have the second side of that or not? We can do it at the next meeting if we don't.
Yes.
The WB Mason also is the office supply with a 61.6% discount off the price of office supplies and 36.6% off toner cartridges.
Mr.
Anyone have any
Chairman,
questions? Yes.
Mike, the same thing with this, were they the only bid?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I have just one more question. Sure. How does this compare with the discounts that we received for the year prior?
Let me look.
Were you reading my mind?
I don't have it. I just have the paper bid folder from last year.
Do you think that you might have it somewhere else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to
Later.
hold off and
Yeah.
we'll wait until the next meeting? It'll be before the beginning of the contract if you...
No, I think it would be nice to know, but if these
Yeah,
were
we-
the only folks that submitted a bid, I mean, I'm comfortable in voting on it.
Yeah, I'll get it to you.
Okay, in that case, Chair will entertain a motion for both the paper contract and the office supply contract.
So moved.
WB Mason.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, I just had a quick question, too.
Yes.
Are the schools, do they get their paper supplies?
Yes.
Okay, but this doesn't cover the schools, too, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, that covers the whole town?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so we get like 1,141 is our estimated for the largest paper,
Yeah.
and 1,000 of that is the schools, 1,000 cases.
In this brochure, there's something about membership and services. Do we participate in that?
Yes. A lot of they do a lot of discounts on trainings for the highway guys. And they do the procurements, obviously. And if they do the contract administration on all the supplies that the DPW and highway get. And then they'll do annual trainings, and also they have the state come out to do trainings during the year.
Anything else?
Thank you.
I think we voted on that, so we're all set, right?
Yep.
Okay. And the next order of business is a request from Sharon Rice, Parks and Recreation Director, to hang a Founder's Day banner across 123 East Main Street in front of the Town Hall for the Founder's Day from Sunday, June 2nd to June 16th. Founder's Day is on Saturday, June 15th, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Henry A. Yell School. Anyone have any questions or concerns? I noticed there was a note that the fire department would be hanging that banner as long as we give them the okay. So if everyone's in favor of that, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request to hang the Founder's Day banner across 123 from June 2nd to June 16th.
So moved with the addition of allowing or recommending that the fire department hang it and take it down.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Excuse me.
Oh. Recap of the town-wide cleanup day.
Okay. Cassie Peltola from Wheaton College is here, and Cassie, along with Bob Kimball, were big driving force behind this year's cleanup day. So Cassie volunteered to come in and talk about how things went, and looking forward to next year.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. So Cassie Peltola from Wheaton College. I use she, her, hers pronouns. And I would say that the cleanup went really well. We had a total of about 80 volunteers. And if each volunteer picked up at least 2 bags of trash, which I'm sure they did, that would mean that we picked up 160 bags of trash off the side of the road. I'm sure the highway department would have an exact number. Some of the feedback that we got from some of the volunteers, they seemed really pleased with the breakfast. We had some donuts and coffee at Wheaton College where registration was. And Bog Iron Brewery very graciously hosted a post-cleanup lunch. But some of the constructive feedback was trying to see if we could get funds to supply T-shirts for people so that it was visible along the sides of the road as people were cleaning, as well as, what was the other feedback that we had? Oh, more marketing to get more volunteers. And so it was Bob Kimball's suggestion that I come and recommend potentially starting a committee. I'm happy to help support that as well, but just to kind of raise the question. And I also wanted to propose a date for next year as being April 25th, because it was a little cold this year. So moving it further along in April, I think, will allow for things to be a little bit warmer. But it will also be the last day of National Volunteer Week, so it's a nice little connection there.
And do you know how that corresponds to Earth Day?
Oh, I didn't look this year for 2020. Yeah, but we could look to see. Other towns typically do it at the end of April, and neighboring towns have really successful sales. Dooley, garbage disposal, they offered to help as well this year, and so I think we're going to talk to them about potentially helping next year. They found out about it later on in the process, and we already had kind of a plan, but I think they could be more involved next year. So they have some really great ideas around how, like, Foxborough does it. They help out with that cleanup, and so we were thinking of maybe getting their advice on that as well. So, yeah.
Do you have an idea on how much T-shirts would cost?
I wish any of my colleagues from Student Affairs were here right now. It's been a long time since I've ordered T-shirts. If we were to get 200 T-shirts and they were each $4 a piece, right?
Okay.
About 800.
About $1,000 or so.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, it's such a great thing that
Yeah.
I've done. I've been involved in a few of them in the past, and I think the most successful one that we had was several years ago when the high school actually did it, and I can't remember what the reason was behind it, but there literally hundreds of volunteers, T-shirts. It was really good, and I think depending on what the rest of the committee is interested in, I wouldn't mind working with you in conjunction with the high school. I know that one of the environmental science teachers over there has actually kind of done her own cleanup, not working with us.
Right.
And I think we could probably get her. And I think if we can tap into the kids, that's how we tap into getting more volunteers.
Yes. Yes. I think that could be really great. And also Dave from the kayak company. I think he does a lot of cleanups around the reservoir. So maybe getting him and his volunteers involved, whoever he works with typically. And I also think that who else was I going to say? There are just so many people in the community who I've met over the years just helping with this, who are really interested in being more engaged and more involved. So maybe bringing them in as well.
I think it's a good idea to go the route of a committee, because I think what happens is all of a sudden it's spring. It's like, when's our cleanup?
Exactly.
Whereas if we
Yeah.
had a committee that was working really starting now.
Yeah.
They sit down with Dooley.
Yes.
Make a checklist, what do we have to do?
Exactly.
And then the marketing or
Exactly.
whatever. And, even as far as the marketing goes, the high school has business
Mm-hmm.
classes over there now. So, or even Wheaton has business,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
we could put some of those kids to work for volunteer hours or whatever. But
Absolutely.
I think the committee is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and the more it's talked up ahead of time, the better it's going to be. It seemed like it was kind of quiet this past year
Yeah.
until the very end. And I think the more of a story you can make, the better people are going to get involved. So, and
And if the NIP bill passes, we could actually make a lot of money out there. That might pay for the T-shirts.
Right.
Very nice.
well, I'm going to retire if that passes. 'Cause that seems like that's the only thing gets thrown in my yard.
Crazy.
Also this year was Bog Iron Brewery was gracious enough to serve after lunch for the volunteers, and I know Brian from Bog Iron is in the audience.
Peeping around the corner over there. Come on, Ryan.
You don't have to come up, but you're going to have to accept the board's and the community's thanks for being involved in. I hate to put people on the spot, but we do thank you very much. So, I don't think we really have to vote on this, but I know personally, I would look forward to helping out, buy a few T-shirts or whatever I can do to help.
That would be great.
And, but if we can the sooner we get that kind of information, the better we can start, asking people to buy 4 T-shirts or buy 5 T-shirts
Yeah.
and that way help out. And I know gloves and things like that are always
Yep.
a necessity.
And the highway department has donated that, but to be able to get sponsors to fund these things, I think could be really beneficial. Bob Kindle did put a call out to people for donations. Roche Bros was kind enough to donate, I think, a $40 gift card, so I used that for water for the volunteers, and 3 others donated a small amount. But if we get started earlier, I think we're more likely to get more sponsors to be able to help to fund things like T-shirts, gloves, maybe even trash bags if we can fund our own.
And Bob had a nice little claw
Yeah.
device
Grabbers.
to get through the
Yep.
woods and not have to kind of crawl through it.
Yeah, those would be
Those would
nice
be
to
great.
have.
Yeah.
Those would be really nice to have, especially along the reservoir where the streets are. Yep.
And I'm not sure, I know myself, I not only like, heavy gloves, but I like rubber or latex or whatever.
We have those
Because-
too.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't want to grab some of the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, lots of nips everywhere,
Yeah.
so.
And I have a ton of latex gloves, but most people seem to have become down with latex allergies. That's how I ended up getting them. Nobody wanted them anymore. But, no, go ahead,
Oh,
please.
I wasn't sure if you were, I just wanted to make a quick plug on the subject of the environment. An initiative that Wheaton has started is Give and Go Yard Sale, the community yard sale. It's been going on for a number of years. Just wanted to let you all know it is happening this coming Thursday, May 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Lots of great deals. People who shop there have a lot of fun, and they find a lot of success, like really great, good, cheap items. So feel free to come out if you're able.
Thank you.
And
Spread the
Mr.
word.
Chairman, further to her plug, I just want to give Wheaton the plug for doing it because, just to give a little backup, it's stuff the kids leave behind,
Yes,
right?
yep.
So there's everything there, mini refrigerators, microwaves.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's amazing what these kids leave behind. I'm sure their parents would be happy. But anyways, after it, because the Norton High School kids volunteer at it, Wheaton gives the high school a check. So
Yes.
it's really a really nice thing that Wheaton does, and all the proceeds go to charities. Like, it's not just a high
Yeah,
school.
they go to participating community-based organizations and student groups. Yes, yes, yes. So in the past few years, it's been the Land Preservation Society of Norton and Norton High School, exactly. And we encourage all of our students to donate any unwanted, gently used items to the sale. And so, and we're sorting it out, so it's not just like everything they leave behind. We clean everything, we make sure everything's working, and we end up with a lot of really cool stuff, so.
I wish, when my daughters went to school, they had that at their college. 'Cause
Yeah.
I still have the stuff in my cellar.
More and more colleges are doing it, but it'll be in Clark Recreation Center this Thursday, May 23rd, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
while we're talking about community events that you guys do, any plans for Symphony Under the Stars again this year?
We don't have a date set for that, and that's typically organized by the President's office.
Okay.
And I work in our Center for Social Justice and Community Impact. I work closely with his assistant, though, so I can find out and let you all know.
Yeah, just because I
Absolutely.
think we need to advertise that as a
That's-
great event.
I agree.
Anything else?
So it sounds like there's a good consensus that a committee should be formed to support this. How do we go about?
For the spring wine cleanup?
I mean, we can form a cleanup day committee, and we're going to appoint Ms. Steele as the selectman's representative, because she already voiced her willingness to. And, I mean, that's all we have to do.
It's all right with you guys?
We just have,
Then I can touch base with you and.
yeah, we just have to dub Ms. Steele, she's in charge.
So
And I'm
is
sure
this,
that Mr. Silva, Keith Silver,
we hope, yeah. Is this like, would this be like a real formal committee, or can we just go
No.
do what we
No.
want
Yeah,
to do?
no, just-
Okay,
yeah,
thank
just
you.
go.
Okay.
that's why I didn't want to really make it.
So I'm
Yeah.
kind of done with formal committees, so I'd
Yeah.
like to just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather you kind of wing it and make it as easy as possible for you.
But can you still plan to come back, like,
No.
once every couple months?
well, I have to come back anyway, so.
Right, you do. Well, we talked about having that item on the agenda about community reinvestment, so I think this would be a
Yeah, definitely.
good topic in that.
Yep.
So Mary, I'd like
And now
to,
you're on the hook.
sorry, Renee, I'd like to voice my support. So whatever you need, I'd like to help you out. It's near and dear to my heart, so whatever I can do.
Thank you.
This is a little bit off subject, but I actually think that you'd be the great contact for the Wreaths Across America.
Okay, yes, I was thinking
Your
that
office,
as they
right?
were.
Yeah, that's what.
Absolutely.
I feel like
Yes.
probably a group of students that would be
Yes.
interested in that.
I should email you and get their contact information, probably.
I can get, you want me to email it to you?
Yeah, yeah, I have your email, yeah, cool, awesome.
Anything else? If not, then I'll just thank you for your
Thank you.
your assistance this past year, and I look
Yes.
forward to a great success.
Yeah, thank you all very much, and thank you for your support. Awesome.
Thank you very much. Okay. Reorganization of the Board of Selectmen. Here you go.
Okay. You want to do that now or at the end?
Let's do it now.
All right,
We're not going to get confused. I'm going in order as much as I can.
okay. Are there any nominations for chairman for the Board of Selectmen?
I nominate Brad Bramwell.
Second?
Any other nominations? We have a nomination and a second. Is there a motion to close nominations for chairman?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor of Brad Bramwell as chairman?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
No.
And is there a nomination for vice chairperson of the board?
I'll make a nomination for Mike Flaherty.
Second?
Do we have a nomination of Mike Flaherty for vice chair and a second? Are there any other nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor of Mike Flaherty as vice chair?
Aye.
And is there a nomination for clerk of the Board of Selectmen?
I nominate Jack Conway.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? A motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor of Jack Conway as clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Take that back.
And he didn't even use it.
I know.
And I was ducking. Okay, thank you very much for your confidence in me. It's probably misplaced, but I hope we have a good, productive year, and I hope that the new blood can teach some of us old dogs new tricks. And we can show you the hospitality and the knowledge that we've accumulated over the years. I hope it's a good mix. Okay. Town manager's report.
Just, if you could, let Jen know, we set up the new emails, but just let her know what your preference is. I know Jack is going with the new town email now, so just let Jen know what you guys prefer, whether to just keep your own that you had, or use the town one.
Just one, Mr. Chairman, one question. Are we able to get the town on a device, or do we have to log on from a computer?
I can get you set up on that after the
You
meeting.
can get it, yeah.
Terrific, okay, great, thank you.
So, and I'd like to add too, I had the opportunity to attend the Charter Commission meeting, and Town Council was talking about town emails and really stressed us using town emails, because she cited that should an issue come up, they can actually seize your property, your personal property. So I would almost think that, I don't know what everybody feels about it, but I think that we should try to make that a standard, and if people don't want to use a town-issued email, that they sign a waiver just to understand that, there is a risk to their personal property
If
and privacy.
If someone with technical knowledge can help me through, then I'll gladly do it. But I'm the first one to admit that I've learned one way, and I have a difficulty even accessing my work email when I'm not at work. The computer at work is fine. Other than that, I'm lost. So, yeah, I'm fine with it, but I'll need some assistance.
Maybe we can set up, and I know you're probably more familiar with this, just some steps and have those available. Because I do think, folks on the Charter Commission, folks on other boards and committees, I think it should be available to them. And I don't know if there's a cost to it, but I think that should be a standard, moving forward for people to have a town email. And, I'm sure we could whip together some sort of a document to help everybody, whether it be you want to set it up on your laptop or a mobile device.
Yeah,
Which a laptop is a mobile device, but a phone or something, like a tablet.
that's fine with me. Anyone else?
Thoughts?
Okay.
Just an update on the street light conversion. Real Term has been moving forward, they're doing a good job for us. And they received 12 bids to supply the street lights. And 6 of the bids were actually, they considered complete. And then they did a ranking criteria and analyzed each company. So they gave a ranking, like 30 points for cost of the fixture, 45% for the 10-year operation cost of the fixture, 20% for the quality of the lighting, and then 5% for the lumens, the cost of the lumens. So you can see in the information that I gave you how that worked out, and their recommendation is Acuity will be the best for the Cobra heads and the decoratives. So they're still fine tuning everything to get us a final cost. We haven't received from National Grid the information to actually sign off on the purchase of the lights, which they said they'd sell to us for $1, the existing street lights. And so we need that before we can move forward with the any grant funding for the lights. And so we know exactly what we're going to have to pay for the street lights. But it'll be a significant savings in cost if you remember from before, the annual operating costs right now is over $100,000 a year for our streetlights. And once this program's in place, the operating costs will be $25,000 a year. So significant savings. We will have a $5,000, they estimate $5,341 maintenance cost each year, but still $30,000 versus $114,823, so quite a savings. So I'll keep you up to date as soon as I have more information from them, and we're working with MAPC for grant money for the streetlights.
I was looking through the information, and what's the cost comparison between the standard light and the decorative lights, and where would the decorative lights be utilized?
We are mostly all Cobra heads. The only place decorative lights would be is the lights that are on the Common, and there's one subdivision that we actually have some decorative lights in, not typical Cobra heads on the poles.
Okay.
Mike, can I ask, in full transparency, I know nothing about lights whatsoever. I assume that these are partially run by solar?
No, these aren't run by solar. They're all just LED.
Is there an opportunity for solar, or does that not exist?
That's not something that we even looked at. We just went out to convert them all to LEDs to save, go from the 114,000 to 25,000 a year.
How is that, like, what's part of that cost savings?
How,
Like, yeah.
why are we saying
Yeah.
just the LEDs? They're so much more efficient. I never understood why the state didn't make National Grid go around and convert them all. I don't know why we have to go and buy the lights, and they should have just said, give them a long time frame, but convert them all over within. But it probably isn't worth it for them if people aren't using that much electricity to
Right.
convert them over. But it's a great savings.
Mr. Chairman? So,
Yes.
looking on page 6 with the Cobra head details, is that $77,000 per fixture? I know that's list price, and there's obviously rebates and grants and stuff that would reduce that. Just trying to understand.
See, I thought that was the bulk, only because if you look on the next page,
Right.
the decorative light that they had selected, the third column, it's, I believe, from what I'm reading, it's 123 units, which would come out to $283 a light,
Okay.
but I could be wrong. It's happened
Yep,
once
I
or
see the
twice
corner.
before.
Do we know how many of the Cobra headlights are included?
How many Cobra headlights we have?
Right. And would this be all of them, or was this a partial replacement?
All our Cobra heads. See if I have that in their initial report.
Yeah, that was the only number I couldn't find. That's why I was asking the price comparison between the two.
Right.
674 Cobra headlights.
So I know that Mansfield recently switched to all LED lighting, and there was issues with them basically overlamping. They had to come back and dim them down fairly substantially. Is that possible with these fixtures? I believe I did see a reference to dimming somewhere.
That's their next stage, is to do the engineering study to figure out
Okay.
how they space them out. And then they're going to put a few test lights up for us, so then we can see and say, well, dim those down a little.
Okay.
That, and also, I think, at earlier meetings, when we were speaking about this, just because there's a light on a pole now, does not mean that there'll automatically be a light put there in the future, because one of these might light enough for two different lights.
Okay.
So we might be able to take lights make fuel lights in some areas and take that light and put it in a dock area.
Is there a standard that we follow to put lights? Because I know where I am, I think we have 2 and that's it, and I think it's because I'm by the school. Like, is there intersections or?
Right, they look at intersections, curves, are the main focus. Heavy trafficked roads that have bad curves or bad intersections.
So have we evaluated that again?
That wasn't part of this. This was just to replace the lights we have now. We did evaluate limited, like where lights are on 123 here, for example, going from here up to the highway at night. There's really dark spots, so they're looking at spacing out lights on there. But there wasn't anything to increase the number of lights in town yet.
Should we look at that? Like, could we get a better deal in the process? And I ask that, there may be, if we have statistics from a police department or fire department, there may be more areas that are prone to accidents, that if we put some lights in there now, and it could be, something where maybe we don't need an extra light, maybe we use one that we already have, but I think that it's worth looking at and trying to do it in one project.
Yeah, when they do their field study, we'll have them
Okay.
look at that.
So we may want to look at the pricing there, just doing the math, that's about $115 a fixture, which seems very, very low for basically anything in this day and age. So, yeah.
Maybe we don't want to alert them to that.
Bank error in our favor?
Sign it.
Are we arguing about?
Mike, and I know you mentioned rebates or incentives. Do we have any idea about the percentage that we can have funded through grants or otherwise?
We don't know yet. That's what we're waiting. The MAPC needs to see their final estimate on the total number of fixtures, and
Okay. And what's the timeframe that we're looking to do this or start the project?
well, hopefully, we'll have everything in place, so then any funding we need, we do in October to get it moving.
So you're anticipating something in 2020?
Yeah.
To begin?
Yeah.
But again, that's dependent on National Grid finally
Right.
conveying the old units to us.
And I hope these lights aren't made in China.
No, it said North America.
They're made in, overhead, they're made in Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Oh, it says they're assembled in North America.
That's always the
That's a big
sneak, that's the
Right,
sneaky
that's a
word.
big difference.
Is there any concern of overlap with this, with East or West Main water sewer projects? That we need to get these done
Yeah,
during that time?
we had to let them know that that project was coming forward, so
Okay.
they're aware of that.
Great.
That was one of the, in their questionnaires, they wanted to know where we had any major projects coming up, because they'd have to wait till all these poles are moved. And
Anything else? Okay.
All right. At one of the previous meetings, I think you asked for the printout of the high school debt exclusion. So I did provide you that, and you can see that where we are in 2020, and it will be paid off in 2033, and it's a declining debt as you go along. So 2020, 995,000, and the last year there is, well, let's go to 2032 is 729,000, and then there's two payments in 2033. 2033, excuse me, 347, 340, 375, and 336, 375, and then it's paid off.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think it'd be great if we could see an amortization schedule for any of the outstanding debt, not on any sort of regular basis, but maybe annually update and post it online so we
Yeah.
can see.
the treasurer has that, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Can we bring the other debt projects to the next meeting?
Sure.
Great.
How many other debt projects are there?
I
That we're
don't know off
paying
the
on
top of
right
my
now.
head, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned at last night's meeting that there's $26 million in debt service right now, I think, between town, water, and sewer.
And just, Luke Grant is here tonight from the Water and Sewer Commission. And just to talk a little bit about, we've got the treatment plant coming up, and maybe Luke can give us an update on timeframe possible, that you'll possibly be up and running. And we just want to talk a little bit about the staffing needs that we're going to have for the new plant. One of them, as we talked about last night, was looking at the new, the appointment of an assistant water and sewer superintendent who's certified to run a treatment plant, and some other people that have to work with that person.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The water treatment facility is roof tight, and they're working on the inside mechanicals, the major structures, the filters themselves, and all the hardware that had to be set aerially from the roof or laterally before the walls went up are in and being connected day by day. I know this rain now is affecting the site work, but as we call them, the trades are happily dry and working inside the building. So it's progressing nicely. The folks in the know actually tell me that its expected turn-on date has not changed. It will begin testing prior to August, and will be, there's a whole series of things that the DEP requires to go online, so you actually have to filter and, believe it or not, dump water prior to introducing it into the system to prove viability of the filters and the testing and such. But we're obviously very excited, and the upside is clean water's coming. The downside is we need staffing, because our current staff has been working on what we normally have, and we haven't had anything like this. So as you saw last night, we have an article for an assistant superintendent's position. We believe it would be advantageous for us to have someone come in to town with water treatment experience, water treatment plant operation experience, as well as a tech or two, because I'm told that at least in the initial phases, it will have to run 24/7 until we prove that it can go in the overnight without support and just rely on the SCADA systems, which remotely notify each person as they're on call in the downtime. But it's going to be a little bit of a staffing nightmare. We have several options. The consulting engineers, Weston and Sampson, they have run other treatment plants short-term, just to make a bridge, so we don't really need to hire all the staff that we may require initially. But it's at least, I think, an assistant superintendent, and we'll have to look at how many other staff members will be, I don't want to say it wrong, but I think it's a T2 or a T3 required to run the plant. And again, I know that's techno speak to you folks, but you have to get your treatment license, actually use the treatment license for a period of time, and then you get an advanced treatment license, so you go to your T2 and so on and so forth. But we've experienced a little bit of an issue because some of the folks are in different departments, or different, I shouldn't say departments, different operations, so they're not using their treatment, and the state is very particular on who, how, and why the licenses are granted. But if we can grab a assistant superintendent with the appropriate license and another tech, we'll be on our way.
Any questions?
Are those positions included in the budget that was approved last night?
Excuse me?
Are those positions included in the budget that was approved last night?
The assistant superintendent was, and I'm not sure about another tech.
Okay.
But we have to know exactly the amount of people that we have on our staff and who will be willing to do it. It's apparently a loud environment when the filters are running, and some people are not on board. But we'll see exactly what we need and react accordingly.
And you mentioned the testing prior to August and then the DEP validation testing, essentially. How long does that take typically?
Depends on the water quality. There's going to be new item issues, so something may or may not work, but it's kind of each plant is different. I don't have information from other plants, but it's a system, and you bring the system up slowly, and you hit marks and test your water and get the results. And
I mean, we're looking at a couple months, couple weeks, like if you had to ballpark it.
if I had to ballpark it, I would say a couple of months. It's certainly not a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I would be very surprised if it were something like that. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, we're going to go online when it's operational, because they do a slow startup or a filter and dump it startup to prove that we can do it with one well, I believe. And then as you get proficient in that, they come out, they do an inspection, plant visits and whatnot, and they go ahead with the next well, and then we go online. So I would anticipate something a couple of months or more.
Okay.
Just seat of the pants guessing.
So potentially townspeople could see a difference in November at best.
We're certainly hopeful of something that or prior.
Can you reach out to the DEP and ask them what a typical time frame is for a project our size? Just so we have some idea of when this may
We
take place.
we can ask the questions, but like I said, it's a dynamic. It would be
Understood.
it would be much like any sort of mechanical systems. Each one is a unique entity, and of course you have the chemistry of the water. So
I mean, they do this all the time, so I imagine that they'll have some sort of a time frame. Again,
one would hope.
if we can ask the question.
Anyone else? In anticipation of the plant coming online, I know, was it last year you changed the flushing pattern? Has that been successful?
It's much more efficient. They're actually have discovered a few inoperable gate valves that we'll call them the mystery valves. We have GIS, so we have satellite location for all the gate valves, hydrants, all the intersections, crazy, everything. So given the unidirectional flushing program, the folks who do the flushing tell me that there are a few areas, and I don't know the specific areas, but that it's just not making sense. So there are either gates that are somewhat blocked and they're not getting the velocity they should with the operation direction, the directional flow that they should be getting. So they're honing that down again, reacting to what the slower areas are, and then adjusting that in conjunction with the engineers. But it's certainly better than the we always did it this way method, if you will.
Yeah. Yep. No, I mean, I don't, claim to get all the phone calls, but it just seemed like things were going a little bit better, and
We've somewhat experienced less water calls. It's a typical few bad places, and I apologize to the residents who live on the intersections where the dirty water occurs. That obviously will be a priority before the plant goes online, a good solid flushing to get rid of what we have for sediment, introduce the new filtered water, and proceed merrily along. Even if it's in the coming years, if it's a mechanical flushing or a mandrel, I'm not sure if you folks understand, but it's basically a cleaner you physically put in, enter the pipes prior to 90s or whatever, but you do long straight runs of pipe and physically pull something through and line the pipe or just clean the pipe that way. Because I'm here to tell you overall the unidirectional flushing is good, but the cross sections of pipe I've seen from direct taps or cut and taps are reduced diameters and whatnot, and you're not getting the volume, you're not getting the flow. Comes to things like fire suppression, that sort of thing. But we're doing baby steps. I want to get the plant online, clean the existing system prior to the plant going online again, get the plant online, and then look at our areas and see where the issues remain, if any.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I have a few more questions.
Yep.
What was the total cost of the plant?
The plant is $11 million.
And do we know yet what the rate increase is going to be for that?
As I said last night, we have a study being done currently by Mark Abrahams, very well-respected consultant in the state, and he's factoring all our projects, new water mains, the plant, everything we have past and looking forward. Very thorough.
Do we know when?
Rate study.
Do we know when Mark Abrahams will come back with?
He's had the information for some time now, I would say 2 or 3 months.
And then does that get communicated out to the?
We will,
beforehand?
sure, we will take his information and make our appropriate adjustments and communicate to everybody in time for budgets and whatnot to be dealt with.
Okay, so the communication will go out before the rate increase is effective?
Certainly.
Okay.
I think it's some sort of Department of Public Utilities requirement, but we will certainly do that.
Okay. One other thing, as someone with bad water, but not terrible water, have you guys ever considered doing basically a survey of the town, like a self-reporting survey of address, frequency of water issues, and how bad it gets? Because I think you could do an overlay of the town map and really see your hot spots of where some of these problem areas are, and it might be enlightening to see. I know you get phone calls, but I think when my water's bad, I very rarely do I pick up the phone.
Right. We haven't done that. The mindset being that we have had the same few areas over the years have the water, and we do ask the residents if the water gets bad to call, and we'll send the folks out and clean up those. It's got to be if you imagine the velocity and the size of the structures that are happening, it's just a water park. Mm-hmm. If you do that, the sediment will react more heavily in the corners and whatnot than the water. So that will be kind of residual in certain areas, and that will stay. And there's no amount of soft, low-impact removal that will get it all. You can coerce some of it out, certainly, and we do. But we encourage anyone who has a water issue to call. And but as far as spending a whole lot of dollars and engineering resources and man-hours mapping and sourcing and stuff, what's coming in a matter of months will certainly be better.
Okay.
If at that point issues remain, I would go with that, because it would certainly be a little more analytical than, hey, we had a bad call over here. But I'm a little more than cautiously optimistic. I'm very optimistic that this will provide a boatload of really good water.
Okay. And my last question, just because I'm not sure how the water sewer is like.
Questions are great. Bring them, because I'm sure if you have a question, somebody out in the audience or somebody in the room.
What's the structure of the water sewer department look like? Because I know you're a volunteer. I appreciate you coming in front of us, but I think you get a lot of heat for the water sewer department, and I don't necessarily feel that's justified for you as a volunteer, but I don't understand who else is involved in decisions.
Okay, we have three commissioners, of which I am one.
Okay.
So then it goes to we are more of a policy and planning, strategic overlay, communication with developers, negotiation with, like the most recent sewer project with the state for the Woodland Meadows project, that sort of getting projects together, seeing what funds can be assembled and whatnot. In conjunction with Mike, our superintendent, Frank Fournier, interim superintendent Frank Fournier, runs the crews day to day, runs the crews, and I think is flushing tonight, right? So Frank is doing double duty these days, and I'm really proud of the guys and the work they do. So I don't call it taking the heat. I'm here to do my best to get the best quality for the town in whatever dollars we spend, in whatever direction those dollars go. I've been a contractor all my life. I've got a degree in math, so I have some analytical background and a lot of physical experience in what the gate valves and the hydrants and the pipes are. So when the engineers show up and say, we want this or we want that, I know what they're talking about. I've installed it, I've repaired it. Sometimes I've hit it. I'm physically digging. But I like the dynamic situation that it is. I'm so excited to get actual nice, clean water and the treatment plant finally coming. It's a geeky thing, but it's a good thing to do, to see this whole process take place, from the concept all the way to the bricks and mortar out there, and then the water in the mains. It's going to be much, much better.
Okay. So the top of the organization is you and 2 fellow commissioners?
To say the top is different, but sure, I guess we're policy and obviously the plant and the people answer to Mike as the procurement officer and the personnel officer and whatnot, so we share. The superintendent has 2 bosses, if you will, so we request these things, and there's kind of a common goal, of course, so I think it's not a conflicting thing. It's just it's that we operate at the meetings, and Mike operates the physical day-to-day through the superintendent and his foremen and laborers and whatnot.
Okay, great, thank you, that's very helpful, appreciate it.
No worries.
And I want to thank Frank. Frank got thrown right in when Bernie left to step in as the interim superintendent. When was that, Frank? In March? December. Okay. And Frank has done a good job in stepping in, and I'd like to thank him for that.
I can second that. Frank is super detail-oriented, and Frank is responsible for at least our meetings going 45 minutes or an hour longer every night. But no, absolutely. He puts in, like I said, he's going flushing tonight, so he does the running of the folks during the day, and he physically feels necessary he's one of the folks who knows the unidirectional flushing program, and he's adamant about going out and doing that. And we really appreciate that.
So can I ask, so he's in an interim position?
That's correct.
What are plans to fill a permanent position?
Mike, could you speak to that?
Sure. We did go out to interview. We interviewed 5 or 6 people.
Maybe 6. I missed one. I think it was 6.
And
I got 5.
out of the people we interviewed, actually Frank was one of them. And Frank did the best out of the ones we interviewed. So Frank has been in there more or less on a probationary period since December.
So timing to change that?
What's that?
The timing to change that, probationary period to permanent?
Yeah, we'd be looking at that at some point, yep, soon.
I have another question. And just for clarification, so while the survey wasn't done, you guys have some information in respect to where the bad spots are in town. Are you going to consider your measure of success really the number of, like, will you continue to base it upon number of calls that you get from townspeople about bad water?
I'm not sure exactly the locations of the testing, but I'm pretty sure we're going to test at random spots to see the quality of the water at the distance from the source, because the treatment plant will be combining and treating three of the wells. So that will be the main distribution point. And then, as if you look at the legs of the system, at several points throughout the system, we'll test ourselves. I'm not anticipating waiting for calls. We're going to be very proactive with the new plant going on to see what quality of water we get at what distance and location.
Do you keep a log of all the calls you guys do get?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you be willing to share that with us? We have a pre-treatment plant, and we can then compare it, say, a year from now for a post-treatment?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And just for clarification, you have 5 active wells then?
There are 5. We have the wells being serviced in anticipation of the treatment plant. So are the 3 at the plant being serviced in stages? So those 3 will be certainly serviced, and we're doing a preliminary drilling for upgrading one of the wells, which over the years, because of the iron and manganese situation, has been less productive. So that's a long-term project, but we've begun that.
That leads into the 3 that are at the treatment plant.
Right.
Are they the most productive, or do the wells equally supply water?
They are the most productive. That's a good question. There are 2 remote wells, one of which is our cleanest well, but also our least productive well, of course. You know, that guy Murphy runs around the water department and says, yeah, I'm going to give you really good water, but not that much.
That's because the tip is coated and it's filtering the water that comes up.
That's what it's one of those coated wells.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, again, a long engineering process in conjunction with conservation, siting of the building, having enough upland to have a building, the roadways and whatnot to get the plant, arrange it where the 3 most productive wells are. But that's where we are now.
Can you speak to a bit of, you said the other well, that there's going to be an additional project? What does that entail? And that one won't be covered by the treatment plan?
That one is at the treatment plant.
Okay.
It's functioning now, but it's becoming less productive at an increasing rate. We're concerned, we're not alarmed. What we're doing, instead of having a holy heck, this one is producing nothing, and now we only have 2 at the treatment plant. Rather than that, we're being proactive and doing an investigation to, I'm not even sure of a timetable, maybe 3 to 5 years to come up with a new, and you can do them you can do another well in a proximity to that one and have it the same well rather than source out a new well, which is very, very difficult. So we're at a preliminary level with that. And this is where our sole source aquifer is at, in the Canoe River Basin. So that's where the water is anyway.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a question? And I don't know if we need to wait for the next section, but we had an email on this from Frank. Is now an appropriate time to talk about that email
Sure.
that Mike had shared with us? Frank, I don't know if you want to talk to it. I just had some questions. So just for everybody's information, or maybe, Frank, you can talk about the public notice.
Sure. Good evening, Frank Fournier, Norton Water. As one of the many requirements we have by DEP, one of them is to sample for manganese, which is naturally occurring in the drinking water, which is what we're building the treatment plant to remove. Anytime you have a number that comes back on a sample result that is above 0.3 milligrams per liter, which is the same as 0.3 parts per million, you have to report this sample. This has always been done and has been monitored by the DEP for many years. As part of the Clean Water Act, which is covered by the Drinking Water Program, the Boston DEP has been looking for a long time. I believe it was back in 2013 they started this initiative on a way to carefully notify sensitive people about the levels of manganese in their water. Basically, the amounts that are there are not life-threatening. They are usually for an aesthetic concern, which is exactly why we have the flushing complaints that we have with the manganese that we have in the water. It's usually a gray or a dark brown or a black color, depending on the level of manganese that breaks off inside the water main due to a high velocity, whether it be flushing or a fire hydrant used for an emergency. A pump test is usually very common, especially in this town with the industry that we have, when you notice these disruptions in service, other than during a normal flushing sequence, which is done twice a year, again, as a requirement of DEP. So the samples we have, these were just sent out today as part of a requirement for the last quarter. These samples we had, I believe we had 4 that were in exceedance of that 0.3. Well number 1, which came back at 0.42. Well number 5 came back at 0.41. 182 Plain Street, which is actually the Timothy Plain Cemetery. We have a sample site location there. That came back at 0.57. And 250 East Main Street, again, another sample location, excuse me, at 0.31. 304 Taunton Ave, another sample location, 0.32. These are all in milligrams per liter. While some are almost exactly at the advisory level, some are slightly higher. So this triggers this public notification, which is a new process. I believe it started to not have an actual date. I know we had a public notification last June, and I believe that was the first notification that was done by the previous superintendent that was here. So I would imagine that the initiative changed the rules right around that time frame for that quarter, and that's where these public notifications have come out, and that's when they started. This is required for every quarter that you have an exceedance above the 0.3 advisory level, and will continue every quarter. Hopefully, when the treatment plant goes online, you'll notice a significant drop in the sample results that are directly around the treatment plant, as that is the whole goal for the plant going online. The one potential concern is the well 1. This is one of the wells that will not be on the treatment plant. We are looking at different options for a temporary filtration system there. They have trailer-mounted units. Very small, compact, would work well with this well because of the low flow that we have down there. This well generates about 200 gallons a minute. So a trailer-mounted unit may be a very good option. We're looking at cost and the possibility of any other actions there, a different type of mechanical cleaning of the well itself, to really define if it's in the well casing, which is the steel and stainless unit that's in the ground, or if it actually is that heavy an iron and manganese in the groundwater saturation for that area. These are all ongoing projects. Most of them were approved last night with the budget. There is a project that's ongoing for what's called 4-log removal. You'll see at well 1 and well 3. This is a requirement that determines what's called contact time, which is the amount of time that you add the disinfection, which we use chlorine bleach, to the time it gets to the first resident's tap. There's a long formulation to figure this out, and basically it calculates the time that the water leaves the distribution system, gets to the client's tap. Usually what has been done in the past at one of our other wells, which is well 4, you put a rat racer pipe in to lengthen the distance between the faucet and the source. And basically what this does is eliminates any potential viruses that could be in the water by having that certain amount of contact time with the chlorine acting upon the water. It's a necessity. It's been required. I can't say why we haven't moved forward with it prior to asking for it the other evening at town meeting. We have done small steps. We've done analyzers for pH and chlorine added at these stations, which is usually the biggest cost involved with this portion of the project as far as the 4-log. Right now, we have a permit and a design set for well number 3, which is one of the wells that was approved for 4-log. We will be acting upon that as of July 1, acquiring the length of pipe that's needed and locating a contractor that can excavate the soil conditions there quick enough. Unfortunately, our small equipment that we have is not fast enough to excavate in that soil condition. So we will be renting or hiring out a large excavator to open the excavation. Our employers will put the pipe in, pressure test it, sample it, and put it online. We'll get approval from DEP to show that we've met all the requirements by the as-built and by the samples, and that'll grant us full log removal at well 3. The same process will happen for well 1 at a later date.
Can you give us just, I know you mentioned 1 and 5, and then you gave us some other areas, like, where are the wells located?
We have wells, 3 of the wells are on Plain Street. Those 3 are actually going to be tied into the treatment facility, which is also going to be located on Plain Street.
Are they all together?
There are 2 that are side by side on one side of the Canoe River. The 3rd is on the opposite side of the river. In addition, there's still 2 more wells. We have 1 well which is down on Pine Street. And the final well is on Newland Street.
Okay, thank you. I have more questions, so
No?
when you're done.
Go right ahead.
No, please go ahead.
The notification that was sent out today goes to the schools and the daycares, as DEP feels that they are the most sensitive in our community and should be notified. Basically, there is a fact sheet here that comes along with this notification to explain a link directly to the Mass DEP on what things you can do differently if you feel that you could have a reaction to the levels that you see here. And basically, we also give them information with the location of the public drinking water that we have supplied out here beside Town Hall, which is a filtered water. It is town water. Some people don't understand. It is a filtered water, has a UV system on it. It is basically the same water that you're going to get when you get the treatment plant online without the UV system. We're going to have it's a slow green sand filter system that will be down at the plant to remove the iron and manganese. And you're going to have water that's coming out of the plant very similar to what you have in your bottles of water.
Did you have a question? So can I just ask, when you send this information, I'm actually surprised that the DEP only requires like schools and daycares, because I mean, you can have an outer population or just people with health issues,
Yep.
right, that can be more susceptible. How do we reach them?
This also goes in the newspaper. I didn't finish, I'm sorry. This goes in the newspaper, gets posted in our public buildings. They're actually, I noticed while I was waiting outside, the old notification is still on the bulletin board here at Town Hall from last June. And the new one will be posted along with that. And this item here changes, unfortunately, as far as the levels, usually depending on the flushing program. As you've stirred up some of the debris that has settled out into the mains, our sampling doesn't stop while we do flushing. Our sampling doesn't stop, because of weather. We sample on a routine basis, which is required. So you have a big transparency to see exactly what goes on and how the flushing systems affect the samples, and how when you're not doing any flushing or any disruption to the system, exactly you have a good representation of what the water is as far as for iron, manganese levels, and we also sample for copper and lead. That's done with the help of the public. We actually send out letters. They'll be coming out, I believe, the beginning of April, and we have certain residents in town that have been picked based on location, and we send them a letter asking for their cooperation to follow certain guidelines. We drop them usually off the next day or the following, a bottle with another sample letter explaining exactly how to take the first draw tap, which is hopefully nobody gets up in the middle of the night. Whoever gets up first in the morning gets the task of drawing the first sample without the water. So we have a good representation of basically the plumbing in the household. It's not a sample for the system, it's a plumbing sample is basically what it comes down to. And this usually determines any corrosion that may be going on with the water compared to the pipes in the house. And the reason they pick specific sites is based on age. As you know, certain times of the construction, there was high levels of lead used in solder for copper pipes, which has been obviously eliminated now. So some of the older homes are more susceptible to having a higher amount, and you find that in the sample. We add corrosion control to the water in a very small amount, and this is a good example of how we know that it's working or not working in a specific area. And we'll see different results based on samples that we personally know were correctly taken. And unfortunately, we have some customers that we can tell it's not town water. But we don't have any action over the sample that we may know is green, and it looks like Kool-Aid. We still are required to send them off, providing we hope that the customer took the sample correctly.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, this does skew our numbers with the amount of samples. A lot of times we have problems with them not coming back on time, or you don't get them back at all. And this drastically affects the program and, unfortunately, the reporting process. We actually have a violation that was from last reporting season. Because there was a delay in getting some of these bottles back, we fell into a DEP violation as far as notifications go. You have 30 days from the time you have your sample put out to the time you get it back and you send it off to the lab. We had quite a few samples that we actually hit 35 days. And as small as that sounds, it's still a violation. It still had to be reported. You will see that report in the consumer confidence report that will be coming out. It's on, again, as this is, it's a formality. We have to report it. As minor as that is, being over the time by 5, we report it.
Interesting. The Kool-Aid comment especially.
It is shocking sometimes. I think, honestly, some of our technicians would rather not get the bottle back and have to find a new sample location instead of get the bottle back and actually present that to the laboratory.
So can I ask, just in respect to the notifications, is it possible, can we expand that? Like, is there something that you can give to Norton Media Center that they can put it
Oh, I'm sure we can, yes.
there? And then I don't know if we have an opportunity, Mike, on the town website to put something, or if
This
you guys.
this is on the Water Department website.
Okay.
There is a direct link to it on the front page. This will be updated. It should be updated, I believe, as of now.
Okay, and then, so maybe we have an alert on the homepage on the town website directing to it? Is that something we can put out there?
Yeah. Any questions?
I have one question. From something I learned at the ribbon cutting for the MFN treatment facility. They were talking about how, you made a comment about putting chlorine into the water, and so they were mentioning there they put chlorine in, and then they put another chemical in to kind of counteract the chlorine. Is that something that we do? And maybe it's a two-part question. One, is that something that we do? And two, what are the risks of putting chlorine in the water? Because I've smelled chlorine a lot in my water.
Right.
Like, is there advice for residents, or?
Chlorine is used as a disinfection, which is obviously necessary. We've, knock on wood, had no bad samples for a very, very long time because our disinfection works. We know it works. Unfortunately, you do sometimes smell the chlorine, which usually means it works. It's not as bad as many of the other communities around. Attleboro, for one, it smells like pool water. Again, they have it that high because they know it works. There are some downfalls to high levels of chlorine in the water. It creates THMs and HAA5s, which is trihaloacetic acids and haloacetic acids, if I said that correctly. We sample for these as well. The sampling that we do is nonstop. The levels for that are also reported in the Consumer Confidence Report. You'll see exactly what they are, and it's broken down with descriptions, basically, of what they are and how they're caused. It's usually caused when chlorine meets an organic, which is similar to if you had leaves in the pool. You have a heavy amount of chlorine in there, it wants to dissolve that organic. The chlorine acts upon that organic and it off-gases and leaves these chemicals, you should say, in the water, and that is what we sample for to make sure we have acceptable levels of those byproducts of the chlorine. Unfortunately, there's always a good and there's always a bad.
Right.
That's what levels everything out. Nobody wants to have bad water that's unsafe and makes it, makes you sick. So we add the chlorine as a requirement for disinfection. There are other methods of it This has been a proven technique for many, many years in many different areas, and we continue to use the chlorine bleach as we feel it's the best for the community.
And do you ever have to treat on that byproduct, or is that just, that you control it by the level of chlorine that you put in the water?
It is controlled by the level of chlorine that you put in the water, and usually it's controlled by flushing. The longer that you have, again, that contact time, you're killing off the viruses, and the longer the water sits, you have a potential to raise the THMs and the HAA5 levels. So by flushing twice a year, and we try and do the whole town whenever possible, we have some areas that sometimes we don't get to, so we start them at the beginning of the next flushing program, and you notice that it's usually affected by water quality. So if you have an area that has high levels of iron and manganese, there's a good potential that that has reacted with the chlorine, and you may see a slightly higher level of that of the THM, which is a byproduct of the disinfection.
Interesting.
I just want to say I am supremely impressed with your technical knowledge. This has been like more interesting.
I thank you very much.
College class I've had.
Honestly, we try not to talk in water jargon because it's difficult to understand and you get the glazed over look. Try and keep it as straightforward and simple so it's easy to understand, but I'm willing to answer any questions. Everybody can access my number, send me an email, and I'll do my best to streamline it and get the answers that you need.
How excited are you at the potential that we will have clean water when the treatment plant comes online and you guys won't have to do all this extra maintenance?
Very excited. Extra maintenance may not be the right word for it, but there is going to be an extreme amount of maintenance for the size of the facility that's going to be implemented, which I think Mike had given you a copy of a letter that I quickly threw together. I have to apologize for that. Basically looking for potential extra staff and why we need the staff in each department. I know Norton residents can't wait. I can't wait for the day that the phone doesn't ring and, hey, I have water that looks like tea. I'm very sorry, we'll send somebody right out. Or coffee. Yes, Peter, you're right.
I like the beer, if only we could charge.
Bargine already left. Myself, I've been here for 19 years this October. So I've seen the change, and I've seen changes that have happened to the water quality based on things that we were required to do by DEP, one of which is increase the level of pH. It had a major adverse effect on the water quality, which I think goes back about 3 years now. And most people that had perfect water now have started to see a small tint. Other people that had discolored water, unfortunately, fairly often, now their water quality is even worse. And it's directly in correlation to the raise in pH. When you raise the pH, you also have to raise the chlorine level because they adjust and they fight each other. So unfortunately, that has happened, and residents have had to suffer for this length of time because of the DEP recommending us go back to a level that was done prior, which was in the 80s. So it's not something that's worth fighting, especially knowing that we had the treatment plant moving forward. And hopefully when the plant goes online, we see our water quality improve. Most likely, we'd like to see these manganese sample results disappear, so we have no more public notifications. Then we can ask for what's called reduced monitoring. So we'd actually have to take less samples than we do now, which would be a major cost savings for us. And as strategically, it's very difficult to plan the amount of samples that we take with the staff that we currently have. Not to get into all the big numbers about things, but samples have basically taken over the job of 2 of our well operators, and unfortunately putting forward the treatment plant, there is going to be additional work that's going to be done in the plant for on-site samples. It has a small on-site laboratory that's going to be required to be run at the plant to show that your treatment process is working, that you're meeting the acceptable levels as far as on your intake and your outgoing water. And there will be also additional samples that will be required in the system to prove that this water that you've now cleaned up basically is going out to the system, and you're having to drop in those levels. If, as Luke had touched on earlier, if we don't see the water quality improve like we are anticipating, that leads us to a problem in the street. That it may not always be a source issue, but for years we've been pumping these high levels of iron and manganese solids into the system, and they settle back out and they form a pudding. Is basically the easiest way to put it on the inside of the pipe.
Really, you had to do the pudding.
I did the pudding, I'm sorry.
Kool-Aid to the pudding.
I'm hungry, I didn't have dinner yet. And it forms a pudding on the bottom of the pipe, and any flow of water above what's normally found in that area is enough to stir it up, and then we go back to the Kool-Aid effect. If you take, a nice clear glass, you put just a pinch of Kool-Aid in, it turns. The same thing happens in the water main. It may be the smallest amount of flow over the normal limit or over the limit that was just flowed there, but it's enough to basically flake off some material and discolor the water. And it's a lengthy process to remove that in a blended system. I see the glazed overlook.
No, there's no glazed overlook. No, I appreciate that, thank you. I'm just thinking that, I appreciate the patience of the others while we talk this out.
Sure. Again, not to...
I want to echo Jack's remarks that I'm very impressed by your knowledge.
Thank you.
And your ability to explain it to lay people. And hopefully you won't be an interim superintendent.
I look forward to negotiations.
So, thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Couple more questions. Frank's still in the room.
Do you have any pudding?
No pudding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Selectmen's report and mail. Do you have any mail, Steele?
I don't have any mail that's come in, but I just have just one thing. Mike, I was wondering at the next meeting, last night, Article 2, with the $5,000 consultant fee for the cleanup project.
Yep.
So I was wondering, when we originally approved that money, we had said that we wanted the consultant to give us periodic reports. I think now might be a good time to get a report from them, what's going on over there.
Okay.
And also, of course, giving us the progress of what the EPA has done. And I'm not sure, you're probably more aware of it because you're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, but maybe if they could outline exactly what the EPA's responsibilities are there, and then what the process will be when the EPA turns the town, the land over to the town, or how that offer is made, and then what happens if there's any residual problems once we start to hopefully build on that property. And anything else I want to, or if you guys have questions. I just figured it's been a topic of conversation lately, so now might be a good time to get an update on it.
I have an additional question on that, Mike, if I can ask. Somebody had mentioned last night that for that particular consultant, that there was a $15,000 cap in the contract. Can you look into that? And I apologize, I don't remember who said it. I just know he's to my right when I was standing there.
Okay.
It's your turn, Jack.
Oh, great. When we met on the 2nd, we talked about trying to recognize Mr. Kimball and Mr. Salvo at Founder's Day. I don't know if we've made any progress on that or what that recognition would look like. Just want to make sure that doesn't fall away.
Yeah. Personally, I haven't done anything about it. I know Mr. Kimball is away, traveling. Maybe before we do anything too formal, I'll reach out to both of them to find out how they feel about it. Okay. I wouldn't want to put them on the spot if they aren't interested in the attention.
Sounds good.
So what I will do is I'll reach out to both Bobs to find out if they'd be interested in us honoring them in some way.
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else?
Are we still in the mail part?
Yep.
I did receive something in the mail that you guys may be aware of. It was the first time that I was aware of it. But somebody had sent a letter, and Jack, there's a reference to you receiving one too. I don't know if you have yet. But it's in respect to a gas leak that an individual had, and really the process of dealing with the town and trying to coordinate the inspector to come in, the plumbing and gas inspector. So does that sound familiar?
No.
It occurred in January of 2018, and it sounds like, if I'm putting the timeline together, and I apologize if I'm not, but the individual was without heat for 2 or 3 days. And part of that was we didn't have a person available to go out to inspect it, so Columbia Gas wouldn't turn the gas back on. So maybe I'll share this with each of you, and we can come back and talk about it, so you guys have an
Yeah,
opportunity to read it.
That's the first I've heard of it.
Okay.
I never received such a letter.
If you
Okay.
give me a copy, I can check into it.
Sure.
Department.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm surprised because I do have Columbia Gas, and I've never had a problem with them. I know at one point my wife thought she smelled gas, and they were there within a half an hour.
No, and I don't think it was Columbia Gas. So Columbia Gas did respond, and they confirmed that there was a leak, and then they went outside and shut the gas line down. And they said you have to have a plumber come and repair it, and you have to have it inspected by the town.
Oh, okay.
And then they'd come back out. And so the issue was that the inspector wasn't available. I think that they had said the following day they'd get back to the individuals by noon, and then it wasn't until 2. So I'll provide this, and then we can talk to it.
That was 18?
It was,
a year ago?
January. He says on, that they had a mass save energy inspection on January 30th of 2018. And that's when they found a small leak in one of the pipes from the furnace to the water heater.
I imagine we'd have some sort of record of if we had to do a call, is that right?
Yep.
Jen, can I give this to you to copy for everybody? I'll just give you the envelope as well, so we have it. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I don't have anything.
It's your turn, Mike.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Oh,
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, one thing.
All right.
Mike, I want to say thank you. I know I sent you a lot of emails over the past week asking for information, so thank you very much for getting that back to me and answering some of my silly questions. I did ask in one of the emails that we have the agenda item to talk about the town hall again, and I know it didn't make it on this agenda, but if we can make sure it's on the next meeting's agenda, just to have discussion amongst the board.
And when you now that you have a formal chairman, any agenda items should
Go to him.
to Brad,
Okay.
and then, because the chair establishes it.
send it to me, but copy,
Okay,
probably copy Jen and Mike.
yes, okay.
For
And
anything.
thank you again for this, because I know I did ask for this specifically, so I appreciate it.
I noticed that the town is advertising for a part-time local inspector to help out with the building inspector commissioner. So if there's anyone out there who would have the expertise, it's an 18-hour week position. I think the hours are pretty flexible.
Yeah.
But they could contact either Mike or the building inspector.
Yeah, they have to be certified as a local, and the hours will be flexible as set by the commissioner. And be prepared for call-ins in emergencies.
And we have a legal notice about looking for bids for trash and recycle services, which is a normal thing, but it made me think that years ago, the town of Norton used to have trash pickup. And then after, due to Proposition 2.5 limits, we all started getting our individual trash haulers. And there was a proposal at a town meeting, probably decades ago now, that it might make sense for the town not to pay for it, but as a group to try to go out to bid to see if we could, the individual homeowners could get a better price. I wonder if it might be time to see if the townspeople would be in favor of doing such a thing at this time. Because I know the trash hauling fees just seem to go up a little here and there. And usually, I would think that if you don't have 4 trash trucks driving down the street at different days of the week, that it would be more economical for one hauler to get the whole town. And I know at the time, many people got up at town meeting and were vehement the fact that the town was not going to tell them who was going to pick up their trash. But maybe with the environment changing a little bit, if people really think about the fact that they might be saving themselves some money, it might be worth looking into. I just want to throw it out to get people to think about what we might do about seeing if the townspeople might be interested in, as a group, asking for bids to go out, and Mike would have to look into what we'd, how we could handle such a thing.
And as a good read on it, I'll check with Foxborough, because they were doing it, and they just changed recently, so I'll ask them what made them go back.
Okay.
And do away with it, and what was the problem. I don't know whether they were collecting the money or not, which could have been a problem, but I'll check
Yeah.
with them and see what
I'm not saying that the town would
Yeah.
get into the trash business, but maybe as a group, the town could, group together to get a better price for everybody.
Does something formal have to happen from a process perspective
That's
for us
what-
just to get
Yeah.
bids? It does?
That's why I'm
Okay.
kind of dumping this on Mike to get us some background. But like I said, when I saw this thing here, it made me think of my knowledge of ancient history in town meetings, and thought it might be something to look into. Maybe people have changed their mind. Maybe after 20 years of paying an excessive fee, they might welcome a chance to save, like maybe $25 a quarter or whatever.
I think it's definitely worth looking into. I mean, I can tell you, I just received a rate hike in mine, and I did some calling around, and sure enough, I got that rate hike removed. So there are options out there, and having the multiple companies to compete against.
Right.
It can drive the individual's price down, but I'd certainly be interested to see what we could get as a town.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I missed one thing. So the Norton's Veteran Council, Norton's Veteran Council wishes to cordially extend an invitation to you to participate in our historic Memorial Day Parade. The parade, weather permitting, will be held on Monday, May 27th, 2019 at 1 p.m. In the event of inclement weather, the ceremony will be held in the Henry A. Yell Gymnasium. Our 2019 Memorial Day guest speaker will be Navy veteran Neil Byron. All parade participants will assemble at the Henry A. Yell School parking lot at 12:30 p.m. and step off at 1 p.m. The parade will proceed down east on Main Street to the Stone Monument at the corner of Pine and East Main for a brief ceremony. Upon completion, the procession will reform and proceed west to the town common and conclude with a ceremony at the Master Sergeant Trent Memorial. Norton Police Department will present the gun salute upon completion of all events. Formation will reform and return to Henry A. Yell School to disband. Refreshments will be available in the Henry A. Yell School cafeteria. If you're going to, we don't need the RSVP.
While we're on that subject, I don't know if I'm going to be able to attend, and usually a member of the Board of Selectmen will say a few words. So I don't know if you're available.
I think I am. I'll email you, but I think I can get
Let
that.
me know. It's
Yep.
just, I don't think I'm going to be able to attend.
Okay.
And if you could say a few words for us, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yes, Peter?
Yes, on the trash collection, I posted an article early this morning back in 1981 that the town defeated a motion to use $255,193 from the school department to fund the resident trash collection and ordered the trash moved to trim school budget for rubbish collection.
I don't think the school's going to like that, Peter. But thank you anyways.
Yep.
Okay. We have no more reports of mail. We'll move on to warrants and minutes. Chair will entertain a motion to approve payroll warrant PR 19-23 for the week ending May 4th, 2019. Warrant dated May 9th, 2019, the amount of $348,366.89.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, you have a motion, a second. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair will entertain a motion to approve invoice warrant AP 19-45 dated May 9th, 2019, in the amount of $680,804.19.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve invoice warrant AP 1946 dated May 16th, 2019, in the amount of $382,953.83.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
I just have one question. So this one's
Yep.
dated today's date?
Yes,
We just got it, we received them early, prior to?
yes.
Okay.
And on, not so much on the payrolls, but on the invoice warrants, if there's anything extraordinary, out of the ordinary, I will let you know. I can tell you, just for one, on the May 9th warrant for $680,000, $545,000 was just debt services. So it's, to me, that was kind of an outstanding number. And so if I see numbers like that, I will let you know what they are.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have minutes to approve. I'm not sure who was here for which minutes, so maybe we should do them separately? So first, I'll entertain a motion to approve the March 21st, 2019 minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. The April 2nd, 2000,
Mr.
yes.
Chairman, just, sorry, while we're on these minutes.
Yep.
We had, that was the night that we had actually had Ashley Nichols from Flaky Crust in.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me that we actually had the ribbon cutting there on Tuesday of this week. Ms. Eunice was there, and the state reps, actually, they had I don't think I've ever been to a ribbon cutting with that many people. Like, there was almost not enough people to fit in there. She's done a great job. It is so cute in there.
Yeah.
And they, yeah, it was really nice to see somebody start like a small business, and they seem to be doing really well.
And her husband, right?
Yeah, and her husband, yeah. It seems like kind of a family thing. Her mother was there, her
Yeah.
stepfather.
Yeah.
It was, but anyways, just want to give another shout out to Flaky Crust. Hopefully the town will support them, and, congratulations to them for really doing what appears to be like a really top-notch.
I meant to bring the picture of Jen eating 4 pies on the counter when I came back.
Okay. Jen, you'll have to help me. Where am I? Did we,
April 2nd.
do we vote on it?
No.
Okay. Any questions on April 2nd? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 April 4th, 2019 minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. April 10th, 2014. I mean, 2014.
Wow.
I'm in the Wayback Machine. April 10th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
April 11th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
2000, yeah. April 17th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And April 19th, yeah. I'll get it right someday. April 18th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it. Very good. Let me turn the page and see if I missed anything. Okay, next meeting is May 30th. Anything that you people want on the agenda, like I said, email me, please copy Jen and Mike, just in case I misplaced the email.
16 May 30th at the middle school auditorium, right, Grant?
I'm sorry?
May 30th, next meeting, May 30th at the middle school auditorium, correct?
So Peter is right. I think Dr. Byetta had requested a joint school
that's-
committee, Board of Selectmen meeting at
Okay.
Vermont Middle School.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome, Grant.
You gotta call me and remind me, though, before. In that case, don't add too much to that agenda. I'm sure he'll keep us busy.
Okay.
So, if there's no other business?
I just had a question about some of the items that we received in our folder
Packet?
here. Yes. I don't know, do we discuss these at the meeting? I'm not sure. The one is regarding a violation of open meeting law. Looks like one is from the superintendent of schools in respect to the pilot program in agreement with the school committee. And then there's something about lease space.
Yeah, I mean, usually they're for your information only. The lease space, I think Mr. Units mentioned at a previous meeting. Isn't that from the state looking for like 4,000 square feet or something like
Oh,
that?
the 9,400 square feet?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just like a follow-up item?
Yeah, most of those things, it's follow-up is for your information, just so you're in the loop,
Okay.
okay? Any other business? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.